Hi guys, and welcome to your 10th lesson within the Professional Diploma in Project Management. Today I'm going to be introducing you all to the world of Gantt charts. Before we get started, I'd just like to share the fun fact for today's lesson, and it's that 80% of high-performing projects are led by a certified project manager, and by the end of the course, that will be you. Before we get started on lesson 10, I'd just like to recap lesson 9 and the different things that we discussed. Firstly, we discussed project closeout reports, and within that we spoke about evaluating completed deliverables and success criteria, gaining formal acceptance from your client, final performance reporting, the importance of archiving records, and how to go about releasing project resources. I then went on to show you a closeout report template, and then we discussed lessons learned, as well as recapped the full project management lifecycle. But let's move on. Moving on from lesson 9, let's talk about what's coming up in today's lesson. Firstly, we are going to discuss what Gantt charts are, the different benefits of using Gantt charts. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into task dependencies, and then I'm going to walk you through a Monday.com demo. It's time to answer the question, what is a Gantt chart? Well, a Gantt chart is this very sophisticated bar chart that was created by Henry Gantt. Haha, now you know why it's called Gantt. In approximately 1910. So Gantt charts have been around for a really long time, and there's a good reason for it. It's a very intuitive chart, and it allows you to track where each individual task within your project is, and if you're on schedule. It's also similar to the work breakdown structure in that it allows you to break down all of your projects into manageable tasks that you can then track visually. And it's also going to graphically represent any of our dependencies. Who can remember what our different dependencies were? Even just one. I believe in you. If you've forgotten, we are going to be recapping this shortly. Let's talk about the different benefits of using a Gantt chart. Well, first, you can assign different tasks to different team members, so that'll help you with your resource allocation, very clearly showing which resources are available on which days. It'll allow you to monitor the progress, so how far are your team members in their assigned tasks, and you can also see if anything is running over schedule, because then what happens? You go over budget, you start getting a bit of scope creep, and things start going into the amber rag status. So you've got to watch everyone's progress. It's very easy to communicate and display. In other words, it's not information heavy, rather just a heading for the task that's being done, and that allows stakeholders who aren't experts in that particular field to understand what is happening. It also allows for project adjustments. Being very visual, it'll allow the project manager to see all the different things going on, which could then allow them to simply find a gap where a resource is available to do a task or assist on a task, and simply adjust the Gantt chart. It can also be very handy in identifying and avoiding different risks within your project, because you may see some dependencies that have arisen and realize that a certain task is running over schedule that now may impact upcoming tasks, and then you can prevent that or put more resources on the task. And very importantly, it visually displays your entire project. That'll include your task list, the different timelines, your deadlines and relationships, the different dependencies, all your project phases. We'll be learning about a new project type today, which is going to be very exciting. It'll allow you to monitor your project phases, which would be your initiate, plan, execute, monitor, control, and close. Today I'm going to show you another technique as well as your agile and waterfall methods, and it'll also allow you to monitor your progress through the life cycle. Another key thing is that you will also have a calendar running along your Gantt chart, allowing you to track days like public holidays and weekends, which will also include your resource calendar and your company calendar. Let's quickly do a recap on our different dependencies. Now, in the context of what we're discussing, we are going to discuss internal dependencies, so dependencies that are aligned on our team. Now, tasks that aren't dependent on any other tasks are called independent tasks, meaning they stand alone and nothing needs to be done in order for them to start or finish. Now, why dependencies are made is because we sometimes have overlapping resources that we need, or even the same resources that we need, and there simply just aren't enough people or resources available for us to do both tasks at the same time, and that is how your internal dependencies are formed. Dependencies are otherwise known as the relationship between two tasks, or two or more tasks even. I've decided to turn our recap on dependencies into a bit of a game. So looking at this, what dependency do you think this is? Now remember that this is the most common, that is your hint. This is the most common dependency type. If you think you know the answer, go ahead and type it into Morpheus. The correct answer is finish to start. So it is our most common and it's generally your default dependency within a project. So the predecessor must finish before the successor can start. So task 1 must be finished completely before task 2 can start. In the context of our website example, you would need to have task 1 be your website being designed, and then task 2 could be coding the website. So once it's designed, we can begin coding. So that is your finish to start. Our next one, we've got task 1 and task 2. Which dependency do you all think this is? Well, let's see what the correct answer is, and it's start to start. As you can see, the arrow is starting at the same place for the task 1 and for task 2. So here, when you've got these tasks, they can start at the same time. So you could begin working on your database and coding your website at the same time, and those tasks can run parallel to one another, and they can finish at any time after they've started. So when they finish, there's no dependency there. They just need to simply start at the same time. So your predecessor and successor can start together. Let's have a look at our next option. So we've got task 1 and task 2, and they are going to finish together. So what do you think this one is called? And the correct answer is finish to finish. So start to start, finish to finish. Very clearly depicted there by our arrow that task 1 and task 2 finish at the same time. These tasks can begin at different times as long as they finish together. You could begin designing your website while someone is doing the copywriting, but you will need both of them to be finished at the same time. Another example would be serving a waffle. You need the waffle to be cooked, but you also need the ice cream to be cold, and you need to quickly put them together at the end. In other words, your predecessor must finish before the successor can finish, or they must both finish at the same time. Now the least common and the most tricky of dependencies is this one. And it's your last option of moving these words around. There's your hint. This one is known as the start to finish. This is an incredibly complicated one. So how it works is the second task can't finish until the first task starts, but the second task can finish at any time. Essentially, it is the opposite of a finish to start, and it's generally considered bad practice amongst project managers. Therefore, it's very rare to actually find one, and I honestly couldn't find one for this website. So this is open-ended. Go out into the world and find your own start to finish. Doesn't have to be related to the project. Even in your daily life, try and identify a start to finish dependency. Now it's time for our demo, but first we need to discuss a new concept quickly. Because I'm going to be walking you through a website in terms of our Gantt chart, you'll need to understand the SDLC. What is the SDLC, some of you are asking? Well, it is the System Development Life Cycle. So this again is specific to IT. Now I've got a lot of experience within the IT world, so I like to bring these in because it is such a bustling industry at the moment. And remember, you can do other courses for sure if you want to learn more about IT. So the first stage within your SDLC, or your System Development Lifecycle, is similar to your general project management approach. So you will plan the work that you need to do. In this case, you'll begin planning the website. Then you will analyze your requirements. So you started planning, now you need to analyze what you've planned. Then you'll move on to design. So you physically start designing your website, and that can be done with things called wireframes, which are very rough sketches of what you want a website to look like. Then you'll move on to development, which will be the physical coding of your website. So you've designed it, now you need to start coding it. It'll then move on to testing, similar to your user acceptance testing, and we've actually discussed this in a previous lesson, where you essentially try and find any gaps within your system to try and make it even better. Then implementation is when you actually take the website live and go and test and see how everything is working there. So you implement your work. And then maintenance, you go in and just keep checking that everything is working correctly and any updates that need to be done are being carried out. For now, this is all the information you need. We are going to break this down further in the Monday.com demo. Let's go ahead and get started. It's finally happened. We are on Monday.com. As you can see over here, I use Monday.com to plan this very course. So I keep all my supervisors and my teammates all informed on what I'm doing. And because of all this great management, you've got a course to watch. So yay! I've gone ahead and created a demo for us to look through based on the website that we've been talking about throughout the module. So here you can see my Gantt chart that I've made. And it's quite long, so we'll actually have to scroll down here. There we go. So it's quite a big Gantt chart. If we look at it in total, we actually have to scroll around. There will be screenshots of this in your summary notes as well, so don't worry if you're not getting a clear picture. Now, how did I do all of this? Let's go and have a look. So we've got timeline view, which is where you'll see your Gantt chart. And then here, these slightly grayed out areas are your weekends. What you'll do there is if it only gets finished on the Monday, you just drag it over the weekend and account for that within your notes. But let's go and have a look here. So if we go to timeline and we go to main menu, you can see exactly what it is that I have done. And at this point, every single task is assigned to me because I'm very diligent. So let's have a look. We've got our main headings. We've got our main headings, so analysis, design, development, testing, implementation, and completion here. And rather than completion, let's say maintenance. So we match our thing. If we look over here, we've started off an analysis and we have established our requirements. So if we click on here, we can then write updates to the rest of our team with this little checkbox, which is really cool. But for now, let's keep things simple. So at this point in our project, we've established that we need to create a website for a shoe factory, and we want them to be able to for customers to be able to make purchases on the site. And at this point, we've established our requirements, we've engaged our stakeholders and gotten their professional opinion, and we've done some analysis documentation. Once that's completed, we then move on to the design phase. Within here, this is going to get a little bit technical, but I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. We do things like design our wireframes, and currently I'm apparently working on that. We design the database, we design some software, and then go ahead and make our user interface. In other words, what the user interacts with on your website. And then we'll do some designing of our specs and approval. And we can see here I've flagged a dependency with the designing software, which we'll have a look at in more detail on the Gantt chart view. So we've got a whole bunch of tasks under development here. And we can see these are happening in October and they have not yet been started. So you can actually go and create little statuses here as well. So if it's dependency, you can then mark it as such. Then we move on to testing, where we're logging bugs and different fixes and having our testing sign off. And another dependency here. In implementation, we are going to install the software and we're going to have support plans and also strategies for how our customers or the users can ask us for help. And then maintenance, we're going to keep things updated, make sure everything's working, and any new trends that emerge are applied to our project, and just general evaluations as well. Let's go and have a look at this in our Gantt chart view. There we go. So we're starting off with establishing requirements. And once we've established requirements, we can then begin engaging our stakeholders. And if we click on that just to have a look, we can see that that falls under the analysis group. The status is done, and here is our timeline, and it's assigned to me. Then if we go into the next week, we can see that we've got the analysis documents, and we can only start our wireframes once the analysis document is completed. What dependency is this, guys? Well, if you're looking at it visually, this needs to finish before this one can start. So that is a finish to start relationship or dependency there. Then we're moving on to designing our database and designing our software. And what dependency will fit here? Well, they can run in tandem, so they can run at the same time. Then once designing our software is done, we can move on to our user interface, which is what everyone interacts with on our website. Once this is finished, we can then start designing specs. Remember, these can still line up. This is just the weekend. So that is another finish to start dependency. So once we've designed our user interface, we can do the specifications of our website, which is going to take a week. Once that's done, again, finish to start, we can move on to design approval and then start developing our system. And by the color coding here, we can then see that this has moved on into the development phase. Within development now, we've started to design our system or develop our system, and we've started to integrate our system model or module. And this can start, as this is finishing, we can start working on the integrated system. Then we'll move on to performing our initial testing, and this is independent over here in a whole week. And once that's finished, we can start on completing, or we can complete our development, so do any last minute changes over there. Once that's done, we can do our final round of testing, and within that we will then start logging bugs. Alright, so this one we can see is going over the weekend, but I think we should finish performance testing before we go on to logging bugs. So let's move this to Monday rather. There we go. So as you can see, it's quite easy to go ahead and change different date ranges. Once we've logged all of our bugs, we can then move on to doing our fixes. So once that has finished, this one can start. And then we're going to testing sign off, and then we'll do installation and support, our support plan. And these can start at the same time, and they can finish whenever they want. So start to start. Then we've got our general evaluation of the system, and that should only take a week. Let's change that and let's move that here. So our project will end on the 3rd of December. Let's see if we can just zoom out here and get the full picture. Might be a bit of a big ask considering how big it is. Oh guys, I think it's too big. Anyway, you can see here how it cascades down from one task to the next. And this is our nice Gantt chart that we've made. We started on the 1st of September, and we finished the project on the 3rd of December, and that is our Gantt chart for that. So really cool software. Let's zoom back in because this is getting freaky. There we go. And all of that was done. I created this whole thing using Monday.com, obviously, and you can go ahead and leave comments and all of the, and I created all of this using the main table. Just for fun, let's add something in, say evaluation, and then we can do our lessons learned session. So you can have lessons learned. We've not started it yet. Let's see a date. Should be after December. And we can do that on the 4th of December and the 5th of December. Let's assign it to me, and let's go and have a look. There we go. And as you can see here, it's straight away scheduled us in. I didn't realize that was a weekend. Let's make it on the Friday, and then we can go over our lessons learned over the weekend, and then on Monday present it back to the team. So very, very easy software to use, and it's very nice visually as well. But go ahead, use a free trial and go and have a look. And remember, if you're having problems as well, that there are lots of different tutorial videos here under help where you can watch the webinars, and there's also here are your tutorial videos. I've watched a few of these. They're really good, really helpful. So if you are interested in using Monday.com at work or just for yourself, I would definitely suggest watching a few of these, and it will redirect you to a website here on all the different tutorials that they have. So really good stuff on how to use their software. Other than that, my suggestion, go and play around and start making a few dashboards of your own. That concludes our demo for today. Let's go and do a summary of what we've covered today. I hope you all enjoyed that demo in today's lesson. There will be a few more in the future. Just to summarize today's lesson, we spoke about what Gantt charts are, the different benefits of Gantt charts, which include resource allocation, monitoring progress, easy communication and display, allowing for easy project adjustments, assisting in identifying and avoiding risks, and then we went on to talk about task relationships, including finish to start, start to start, finish to finish, and start to finish. And then we ended off with our fun Monday.com demo. I'd just like to pose a challenge for today's lesson, and what I'd like you to do is go out into the real world and find an example of a start to finish dependency. Now remember, these are the trickiest of all the dependency, so please go ahead and hashtag that Shaw Project Management so that I can see what all of you come up with. That brings us to the end of today's lesson and also Module 1. I hope I see you all in Module 2, and I hope you've had a fantastic time and learned something new. Bye guys.